couldn't ignore the fact that Mary was pregnant and he wasn't the father. That he was an uncontrolled man, someone who had no will, who was unable to control himself or any of those things, and that he had taken advantage of this young lady. Jesus is going to come back as a warrior, and he's going to kill all of the, all of the wicked, and the blood, in the battle of Armageddon is going to be so high, it's going to be up to a horse's bridle. And man, I can't wait for that day. Right? Come, Lord, come. And what we're going to do today is we're going to look at the story of Joseph. We're going to see how he reflects the heart of God by being an honorable man. So if we look in Scripture, Micah 6:8 gives us a really good picture of what it means to be an honorable man. Okay? And Joseph fits this perfectly in these two verses. He shows it perfectly, and there's so much we can learn from this. Micah 6:8 says this. It's talking about God. He says, "He has told you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you but to do justice and to love kindness and to walk humbly with your God?" What does the Lord require of you but to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God? Other translations will say it this way: seek justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. He couldn't ignore the fact that Mary was pregnant and he wasn't the father. Justice would not allow him to do that. Because if he went and married her anyway, if he just ignored it and went along with it, he would be signaling to all of society that he was an uncontrolled man, someone who had no will, who was unable to control himself or any of those things, and that he had taken advantage of this young lady. And so he says, I can't do that. It's not right. I wasn't a part of this. And he does what's right. See, justice expects that we will do what's right, but it also expects that other people will take responsibility. Right? It's like we expect people to take responsibility. Hey, if you break it, you buy it. Right? I mean, that's just what we expect. Like for me, can I just tell you one of the most nerve-wracking things as a father ever? And I mean this. Is walking into Hobby Lobby with toddlers. Do you know what I'm talking about? Because they put all the stupid breakable stuff right at the front. Like they're expecting to make a profit off of all of the parents who come in with kids. I mean, we used to, and what gets me is their shopping carts are tiny. You can't fit more than 2 kids in there, right? Like there were times we would go to Hobby Lobby and it's like, you get a cart, I get a cart. 2 kids go in that one, 2 kids go in this one. Don't touch anything. The only way you feel safe is if you go in with duct tape and you duct tape the arms of your kids down. That's it. They love shiny things, right? And they want to reach out and say, stop touching things. Because for me, being an honorable man and a man who does what is just means if they break it, I'll buy it. And I don't care how often they have a sale. It's more money than I want to spend, right? I mean, there were times it's like, hey, we grabbed a candle and we're walking out and guess what? It falls, it breaks, it shatters. Great, we need that. Go get another one. We'll scan it twice. Even if the people there are like, you know what? It's okay. Don't worry about it. It's like, no, we broke it. We're responsible. We do what's right. And that's the type of man Joseph was. I'm going to do what's right. She's pregnant. I'm going to do what's right. And that means not going along with it. And so Joseph does that. And it's likewise in our life. We can't ignore injustice in the world. We can't. I mean, it would be nice to, wouldn't it? It would be nice to just kind of put blinders on and go through life like, hey, no big deal. Everything's okay. But we can't. If you're going to be an honorable man, you can't walk through life looking at injustice and being okay with it. You just can't. There should be a sense that just grinds inside of your heart. This isn't right. That doesn't mean you have to know what to do about it, but we should always seek to do what is just. We should always seek to do what is just. And when we seek to do what is just, we are reflecting the heart of God because we serve a just God. He's just in every way. We're going to get into that here in a little bit, but we need to understand when we say, I'm going to do what is just, what is right, we reflect God's heart. But there's a problem, okay? And I want you to notice what the passage says here. It says, do justice, but love kindness. And too many times we love justice more than we love kindness. When you love justice more than kindness, you become a mean individual. Okay? No grace, no mercy. You did something wrong, you're going to get the punishment, the full extent of it. You don't care the situation. You don't care if it was an accident, whatever. Love justice, right? People who love justice, they are really, really looking forward to the end times. They read about all of the things like Jesus is going to come back as a warrior and he's going to kill all of the, all of the wicked, and the blood, in the battle of Armageddon is going to be so high it's going to be up to a horse's bridle. And man, I can't wait for that day. Right? Come, Lord, come. And then there's a part of us that goes, yeah, that's in there. But shouldn't we also care about those individuals? I've always struggled when somebody is like, man, things are so bad right now. I'm just praying that Jesus will come back. And in my mind, I kind of go, man, things are so bad right now. Like, Lord, be patient. We've got a lot of work to do. Sure. Like, hold on. So we've got to be careful that we don't get so in love with justice that we neglect the second part. Do justice, but love kindness. And this gets confusing sometimes. Like, do justice, but love kindness? Like, how? And that was always really hard. Like, as a dad with kids, it's like, hey, I told you not to do that, and I said that this was going to be the repercussion. So, but I don't want to punish my kid. But I don't want them to end up being a spoiled brat, right? It's like, I want to be kind, but I want to do what's right, and I want them to understand justice, but I want to be kind. And so there's this tension there, isn't there? And what's really incredible is you can do both. And we see that with Joseph, with what he does. Joseph loved kindness. He sought to do what was right. That's why he decided he was going to divorce Mary. I can't go along with this. You are an immoral woman. I'm not going to do this. And remember, that is his perception. I'm not going to go along with it, but I'm going to take the next steps really quietly. And it specifically says that he did not want shame to come upon her. And what's incredible about that is most of the times when we've been wronged by somebody, we want shame to come on that other person. Like, we are okay with that. And yet, what we see from Joseph is that he loved kindness. He was still going to go through with it. But he was going to go through it quietly. Now, what's interesting about this period of time is that if a woman was caught in the act of adultery, they could legally drag her out into the middle of the street, and all of the men of the community would come out and would stone her. They'd kill her. That was what the law said was just. It was allowed to drag them out and kill them so that unrighteousness would not be in Israel. Over and over it talks about that. And so you've got this right that Joseph had where he could have poured out wrath, because the wronged man is the first one to throw the stone. And so he had every right to get revenge. But kindness wouldn't let him. You can be kind while being just. Justice says there has to be a repercussion. There has to be a punishment. There has to be this or that. Kindness says, hey, I'll stick with you through this. I'll make this as painless as possible. I don't want to see you suffer. So let me walk with you. We even get this picture with Jesus, okay? Jesus is such a great example of this. It says that Jesus was full of grace and truth. Okay? Which means, and really one of the perfect examples of this is the woman caught in adultery later on who was drug out into the middle of the road, and everybody's getting ready to stone her, and they look at Jesus, and Jesus says, let you who is without sin be the first one to throw a stone. Which disqualified everybody but him. Right? And as everybody leaves, Jesus looks at the woman and says, where are your accusers? She says, you know what? They're all gone. He looks at her and he says, I don't accuse you either. Go and sin no more. Being kind does not mean that you call what's wrong good.